Wave lay fay. Sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances. Not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap, all in one, all for you. Tap in, zap in.
On Monday, the 29th of December 2025, as Aji rightly said in the first hour, the last Monday of 2025. You're with Coffee Time with Peter Gomez, and with us for the next half hour or so is Professor James Freeman. So we've heard a bit about your athletic career. Let's delve into your academic career. What drew you into academia after your athletic career?
That's interesting. One of the things, I had a lot of mentors, and I'll name three of my professors. One at Wabash, who was very instrumental in pushing me further to go to get my master's, Professor Barreto. And then when I was doing my master's at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro, I also had another professor who later moved on to Florida State, where I had to get my PhD. So I went there and I worked with him. So I had a lot of good mentors. Mm-hmm. And of course, I said my mom was an educator. So, but it was never something that I said, oh, I wanted to be a professor. But once I finished my undergrad, I got scholarship, what's called they call NCAA, but National Collegiate Association. So the organizing body for college sports. I was given us what's called academic scholarship postgraduate, which is by that time was given to about 300 students or so in the U.S., or 300 or 3,000 students. Mm-hmm. So that afforded me the opportunity to pay for my grad school.
And in what area of study did you get your qualifications in, your degrees?
Yes, my bachelor's is economics. I did economics as my major, and I have minor in mathematics.
Okay.
And for my master's was also in economics.
Mm-hmm. And which areas of research or teaching have been most meaningful to you?
Yes, so I consider myself an applied microeconomist. So I teach, currently I teach international trade, international finance. I also teach introduction to microeconomics. I also teach applied econometrics at my institutions. But I'm more interested in data. Sometimes I like to work with data, so I'm very interested in statistics and econometrics.
And are there any lessons from Gambian culture that have influenced your approach to scholarship and mentorship? And if yes, what are these?
I think one of the things I appreciate is the fact that even not knowing, there's several Gambians who would step up to mentor others. And I try to do that with young people now when I see them. Like I lived in Massachusetts and Rhode Island area. So if I see a lot of young Gambians are doing great things, going to top schools, and I try to encourage them to, just go for their dreams. I do want to stress that academia is one area. There are a lot of things that people can do that are skillful or learning trades and other crafts that are very useful skills too. So my attraction to academia was that, one, it was a lot easier to get jobs post, graduate. Most people, I did not get my green card until after I finished my PhD, so I wasn't, but that, because I had a PhD, I was able to get what's called a professional visa, H-1B, and then later on got a green card.
Okay. Would that still be easy to get today as it was, say, in your day?
Now there has been some change I've heard from the current administration in terms of they charging companies, I think it was $100,000 for application for green card. So
did you have to pay anything?
No, I did not have to pay. My institution filed. Generally, if you're in academia, it's a lot easier than if you work for corporate. But because in academia, you have to, before they can hire you, they have to show that you're the most qualified applicant. So you have to go through a regular, job interview, but also a national search.
Mm-hmm. You spoke about mentoring young Gambians in areas of the U.S. where you have a large concentration of Gambians. But what about working with students back home here in the Gambia? Any links with the University of the Gambia, for instance?
No, I haven't. The last time I was here, I tried to talk to Dr. Fani. I think that's, yes, I visited, and I also visited then Vice Chancellor, Professor Pierre Gomez? Pierre Gomez, yeah.
So now the Minister of Higher Education.
Okay, yes. So I would like to come back and teach, and maybe not this time, but I do have summers and I do have January breaks sometimes to come back and give back. So that's just my goal, and also teach high school.
Oh, high school. Why high school? Why is high school important?
Because that's the foundation.
A professor, people would think, professors
I would like to
are associated with universities. No?
I think that's the foundation. I think one of the things I've learned over the years is there's a lot now with the internet. There's a lot that students have access to that we didn't have access to then.
Absolutely.
And you can learn a lot of stuff by yourself if you're just curious. So I just want to, I hope people will get that intellectual curiosity, and in any field, not just in economics or engineering or science and so on.
On the issue of the internet and the possibilities that it presents, do you feel that students of today actually harness the full potential of the internet? And what do you think, given what we didn't have, the internet, when we went to school, yet we were still able to achieve, we would have achieved, say, if we had the internet at the time?
I think the first part, I don't think, based on what I've observed, I think there's a lot more potential for students to use the internet. And if you're just using it for social media and so on, that's maybe some see it as that
missed opportunity.
It is a missed opportunity, because a lot of these universities and a lot of high schools put their notes online, so you can get a quality education. I know MIT has online courses, all these places, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Harvard, you can find a lot of lecture notes from top professors that you can download, you can study, you can follow. So there's a lot of resources that are already available for students who want to learn. There are lots of authors are now putting their textbooks online free of charge, because the cost of textbooks in the US is very expensive. It can cost almost $500 or $300 to $500 a semester just to buy your books.
Let's go back to, your argument on, the high school basically being the foundation. Should more professors, maybe think about teaching at high school, preparing these people who eventually will transition to university? Otherwise, there would be a big gap. Say they arrive at university probably not fully prepared for university education.
Yes, my answer is yes. I think a lot, I would advocate that some of the qualified Gambians who are not even in academia to be willing to share, teach at high school.
They now call them senior secondary schools.
Okay, senior secondary schools. That just tells you at senior secondary school. And I think because if you build a foundation, because it makes it easier once you get to a university also, because if you have the foundation, then at the next level, you have a lot of options. For example, if a student, let's say there are lots of Gambians who are very good in the sciences around here. If they can teach, volunteer or teach high school sometime, or even offer classes, prepare the students, show them the joy of being a scientist, I think that can help when students decide to go to college or at the next level. So that's what I feel like. Even at my institution currently, I like to teach first-year students. They call it first-year experience. Introduce them to economics or to different topics. I think it's very important.
Well, you wouldn't be a professor without, producing a body of works. Talk us through some of your work, some of your writings, and how they have contributed to maybe broader conversations about economics, not just in the Gambia, in the US, but across the African continent.
Well, I wouldn't. There are lots of Gambian professors who are more accomplished as scholars, but what I have focused my research on, earlier research, was looking at issues of corruption.
Very topical in this country.
And in most other parts of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
But looking at corruption or some other bureaucratic issues, how they affect firm performance, they've done some work on that. So mostly international, my other area has been on looking at the effects of schooling or occupational choices on wages in the US and so on. Lately, I've been interested in maybe looking at issues of remittances. There have been a lot of study about remittances. I said, I'm doing more international than my other specialty, which is labor economics.
On remittances, have you looked at remittances and how crucial they are to the economy of the Gambia?
Not in a general sense. I do read some reports, but I know in my international finance class, even in other countries, the remittances have been very important in some countries in Southeast Asia. But in Gambia context, I recall I saw something about there was $750 million. Yeah. Was it last year?
776.
Okay,
776 million.
Yes, yeah.
This was last year.
Yeah, last year.
We are waiting for the figures for 2025. Maybe they would hit 1 billion plus.
I hope so.
Sorry, yeah, 1 billion plus.
I hope so too. So because one thing about remittances is that their impact is broad-based, right? Some of the remittances are used to finance education, healthcare, but also it's used to help people start businesses. So it's very broad-based. And in some reports now, remittances in some countries has surpassed foreign direct investment.
In the Gambia?
As a source of income.
Definitely
in the Gambia,
case,
yes, in our case.
Yes.
So you can look at, remittances has been, like I said, broad-based because it can be used for finance, home, housing, but also for healthcare, healthy outcomes, school. A lot of people use it for education. So I think that's another area where one can tap into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you were to advise the government on how to maximize the inflow of remittances, how to use those resources to further build, the economy, what areas would you suggest they focus on?
Well, like I said, I haven't looked at Gambia in particular.
Yeah. Let's just assume you have $750 million flowing into the country every year.
Yeah, I think one of the things about remittances is how to the fee that we pay, even though the fee has gone up. But in Africa in general, I was reading this report that Africa, just the payment system makes the cost of remittance and what we call cross-border payment systems very expensive. And I think now the cost seems to be going down. A lot of people use SendWave to do that, and used to use other people to send money, which used to be expensive. They charge a separate amount. But I think if there's
and using people as couriers, people
yes,
traveling with
people traveling with physical cash.
Yeah.
And I think that's so one thing is if there's a way to make it easier. If Wave, for example, Wave or any other payment system, I'm not prioritizing any payment system.
No, it's all right.
But if it makes it...
Wave is a sponsor of this program, so we can allow people to mention them, yes?
But if there's a way to make it easy and cheaper to transmit money, I think that would help a lot. But I don't know whether it's more common, an African problem, but I think as what we call electronic payment system or cashless payment systems become broader, that would also help in a number of ways.
That's an area that the country is definitely looking at because there is what is called GAM switch, and it's to encourage, and over time bring about a truly cashless, society where you pay, electronically for everything.
That would be great, and I think there are lots of advantages to doing to having that as an option to still pay in cash.
Quite apart from the issue of corruption, which you said is not unique to the Gambia, debt is another problem that bedevils our country. We were just listening to a piece together. The rebuttal of the PPP. You grew up, knowing about Sadara Keraba Jawara and the PPP. And the argument is that when Jawara was being toppled in 1994, the total debt of the country stood at $2 billion. Yet, again, according to this argument, in just 9 years, Jawara had been around for 30 years. In 9 years, this government has worked our debt up by another $92 billion. The issue of debt across the African continent, is it something that you have looked at? Is it something that you have even written on?
No, I haven't looked at debt in particular in African countries other than reading to prepare for my courses. So I really cannot comment.
From what you have read about debt in across Africa, what do you make of it?
In some countries, it's become a problem. I know in Ghana. Again, there are different measures of debt. What we call debt sustainability. So sometimes they look at it as a percentage of your gross domestic product. They look at it as a percentage of your export revenues, your ability to repay it, whether it's short-term debt or long-term debt. So it's very, I was just looking at
It's very subjective.
There are different measures. The IMF has what they call debt and sustainability. I think survey or assessment. So they have a number of tools where you can look at countries, whether they're high risk, medium risk, low risk, or default. So, you have to look at other things. What's the different types of debt? Debt in itself is not a bad thing. Corporations take debt, governments take debt. The U.S. has huge debt. As a percentage of GDP, is much higher, but it's your ability to repay it. That's what matters. And your ability to repay it depends on whether your debt is in foreign currency or in domestic currency. It depends on foreigners' ability to buy your debt, because that's the advantage that the U.S. has, that a lot of countries are willing to buy U.S. government bonds to finance its debt. Gambia and other developing countries, not just in Africa, but in Asia, don't have that.
Okay, I mean, for an aid-dependent country like the Gambia, is it advisable to be taking loans all the time, adding to your debt portfolio, whether it's to finance health, whether it's to take care of public sector wage bills, or whatever?
Yeah, I'm gonna be very careful here, because, like I said, in terms of debt in itself is not bad. It's what do you use the debt for? For example, if it's used to finance investments that may later generate enough revenue to repay the debt, then that's good. If it's used to finance infrastructure, that's also good, because infrastructure, they create what economists would call positive externalities. Good roads generate businesses and so on, and you assume that the country can repay those the debt in the future.
Which I think is what this government is assuming. That's why it's it's building roads left, right, and center.
But the infrastructure is important in any country, I would say, even the advanced country. Having a very functioning infrastructure is very useful. And I think in that sense, if the debt is taken to build those things, then the ability of the country to repay it it's greatly enhanced.
I am fully aware that you don't want to be part of the conversation in 2026. One party saying, Professor Freeman on Coffee Time said this about that, whether it's the party in government that wants to use you to confirm the good work that they are doing, or a party in opposition using you to castigate what the government is saying. So we'll leave it at that. What advice would you give to young Gambians pursuing education or careers abroad today?
Yeah, my advice would be, first, be passionate about what you want to do. I think a lot of times if you want to be a nuclear scientist, even though Gambia, just go ahead and do it. I think some of the things the areas that are emerging, like artificial intelligence, these were things we didn't think about. Even in the internet in the 1980s, then you got, a lot of these things are happening, .com, and now we have AI, artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. So I like to tell people, if you're passionate about something, you're curious first, go ahead and pursue it. Sometimes it takes a lot of hard work, but you have to be passionate and dedicated about it. And it doesn't have to be strictly academia. There are lots of people in medical field. There are lots of people in engineering, architecture, mechanical engineering, a lot of other areas that you can make a good living and make a difference. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The other thing, you and I talked before about people wanting to go through the back way and so on.
Actually, I want you to advise Martin Younger here, my cameraman.
No, Martin. I cannot tell someone what individual families can do, but I do know now it's gotten a lot tougher. And even if you go, if you don't have the skills here, like even if you were a carpenter, a mechanic, a plumber, or some of the skills, and it's going to be a lot tougher to survive, to make it, right, if you're not willing to learn. Mm-hmm. So my advice is that if you're interested in education, I think I know the education system is a lot better than it was when we were going. You know, there was not a university here, so we had to go outside.
So some of us arguing that the education system was better then than now. You're suggesting we are wrong.
No, we have more options now. I think we have more options now. That's true. We have more options now, and I think a lot more Gambians are more qualified that they teach, and so on. Sometimes I'm hesitant to make
comparison
across time periods because it depends on resources and context and so on. But I think this generation have a lot more options from what I've seen. Having a university, having a lot of, I heard they're building other engineering university.
Lot 2, the president just inaugurated the works on, during the weekend. And finally, James, if you could capture one lesson from your journey for posterity, what would it be?
One lesson is that work hard and realize that the people who have what I call trailblazers, you're working on the shoulders of others, who've worked before you. And whatever you accomplish, try to give it back also. So you also become someone else's shoulder to help them. I think that's what I've accomplished. A lot of Gambians have done it, but I've also benefited from other Gambians who have set the path for us to succeed. And I hope that I can also be a mentor to other Gambians who are looking to do the same.
Fantastic, James. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Peter.
When's your next visit? I'll make sure that every year you visit, we bring you here and we speak about one aspect of economics.
I think my goal is to come every other year.
Yeah, every other year. So in 2027, God willing.
I'm getting older, closer to retirement, yes, or even before that. But thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, not at all. Our pleasure.
But thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, not at all. Our pleasure.
Sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances, not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap, all in one, all for you. Tap in, zap in.